Joining me now to discuss this, Jeffrey Robinson, author of The Sink, How the Real World Works, Terror, Crime and Dirty Money. So, how much have the EU finance ministers done that's effective?
Well, they've made some wonderful announcements, and they're all in favor of apple pie, motherhood, and the flag. But when you start talking about practical measures, not much is happening. If you remember, right after 9/11, Gordon Brown announced that Britain had seized 60 million or 80 million terror dollars sitting in British bank accounts, and my goodness, that was a big blow to terrorism. Since then, most of that money has been unfrozen, returned. I don't know of a single prosecution associated with it, because terrorism and dirty money don't work together. The money laundering laws will find drug money, it'll find fraud money, it'll find extortion money, but it's not going to find terror dollars, because there is no such thing as terror dollars. There's low-level crime. That's what finances terrorism, not big bucks. 9/11 as the model is the wrong model to use. The model you've got to go to is the IRA. Look at the way they financed the campaigns in England in the 70s. It was all with low-level crime. That's what these people are doing today.
And literally collecting in the United States, in Ireland, in
That's
pubs,
That's where they made their mistake, because they got into drug trafficking and arms trafficking, and that's when they got caught. But if you look at a group called the Groupe Islamique Armée, GIA, who have been operating in Britain for several years, and there are probably 100 of these characters running around. They use Britain as a cash cow, and what they do is check fraud, bank fraud, credit card fraud, pick up little amounts, few hundred pounds there, few hundred. That's right. They put it in their pocket and take it away, and they were the ones who financed Madrid. Madrid was done for under $1,000. My bet is that Britain, last week, cost under 200 pounds.
That's very interesting. But how are the EU finance ministers going to expect it to do anything that's effective against that?
That's what I mean. That's what these guys are meeting. Right? What can they do? Because if you have money laundering,
tolerance policing is going to be your best way. Isn't
well,
it?
that's right. Low-level policing to look at these low-level, under-the-radar crimes, because that's what's financing these
what
things.
sort of few $100s in check crime or credit card fraud, something like that?
What did it cost to blow up Madrid? They stole the explosives. They needed some cell phones. They needed a rental car. They needed a place to live. The terrorist act itself doesn't cost anything. It's the planning stage that costs the money. And for that, they need...
How do you deal with that?
Well, that's the low-level crime. You have to be able to identify the low-level crime and attach that to terrorist activity.
You really make it sound as if money is not the most powerful lever to stop all of this.
Well, the criminal activity at the bottom will, if you can get to that and stop that, you'll stop the funding of it. Yes, that will
fund. That is an enormous effort, isn't it? Because how are you going to tell, you know, that particular two-bit credit card fraud from another perfectly greedy, ornery?
Perfect example of what happens, and it's an actual case where a young man was arrested shoplifting in a store in the south of England, and he had a French passport, and nobody asked him if he spoke French. And they took him to the magistrate fined him 50 pounds, and they let him go. One young patrolman said, there's something wrong here. And he was the one who realized that the photo in the passport didn't match the guy. And they finally attached him to this Groupe Islamique Armée. That's what you have to do. You've got to be aware on the ground of how these things are being financed. The finance ministers meeting in Brussels, it's all well and good to say we're going to cut it off. And sure, if you could find Hamas money, take that away. But you're not going to find the money that financed this or Madrid or any of these other attacks by looking at 9/11. It doesn't work that way.